Hello everyone, welcome to Gary Mac Studio. I'm going to do something today a little different. Uh, I've got a 12 by 16, just a watercolor canvas panel, and I'm going to do an illustration on how to get perspective and how to get depth into your landscapes or cityscapes or anything that's going to show depth into your painting. And it's a very simple concept called a vanishing point. So I'm going to zoom you in here. I want to zoom you in on this little canvas, and I don't have a picture or anything that I'm going to duplicate. I'm just going to do an illustration, and this illustration is I'm just going to take some. I want to take one point on the canvas. Doesn't matter where it's at. Over here, doesn't matter. So in this particular one, I want to make it real simple, and I'm going to start right here with a vanishing point, right there on that dot. And that's where this whole picture is going to graduate from big down to small. So what I want to do, I don't care if it's a road or a river or a lake or whatever you might put in here, or a forest with trees and a path, it doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw some lines. I'm just going to draw some lines in here, come down like this. This might be a road, it might be a river, it might be a path. It doesn't matter what it is. And then right across here, I'm going to put a horizon line. And if you'll notice while I'm doing this, that all of these lines will intersect to this one point. This line, this line, this line, this line, and whatever else lines we have in here. All right, let's say let's start up here and draw a line, and let's start over here and draw a line. Now then, what we have is, if you're going to have trees, let me get a different brush. If you're going to have trees, and I'm just going to take some dark colors, and I'm going to put in it doesn't matter what it is, it might be a fence, but in this case it's going to be, and we might put a fence in here, just to illustrate what I am, so let's just say these are tree trunks. And as I said, this is just a quick, and I'm not looking at a picture. I'm just getting some paint on as an illustration of how easy it is to get perspective. And the properties of it, and how this all works as we go along. And then you'll come back in here and there'll be some trees in the background and what have you. something like this, and then all this stuff in the back in there, it's just, you really, just an underpainting, you really don't pay that much attention to that. What you're going to see is what you've got up here in front. And you don't want them all the same height. Some of them you'll want taller, some of them you'll want shorter. And then I'm going to show you, when we get down in this area, how you can really push those back into a background. And the further away you get, the closer they get together. And then over here, we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to, and remember, this is just an illustration. It's not going to be a painting to hang on the wall. This is strictly for educational purposes. And I used to do this. I used to go into prisons, and I used to give these types of illustrations for inmates. But I would spend more time and make it more conducive to a nice painting. Okay, so now then you begin to see we're getting this depth into this painting. All right, down in this area. Okay, we'll draw another line right down in here. So what we'll do is bring some of these on down further, which is even going to give it more depth. And same way over here. We'll bring them down a little further as we go. It'd be right along this angle. And the same here, right along this angle. And you want to stagger them. You don't want them all on the same plane. Some of them will be back in here between those two lines, like this, which is going to give your painting even more depth. The brush is kind of dry, so some of them would be up front, and then some of them will stop in between this line and this line. And that's what's going to give your painting that depth. Now then, in your sky, you're going to have that same scenario. The closest thing up to you in a painting is going to be at the top of the sky. So up in here, your clouds are going to be big. And as you graduate down, these clouds will get smaller and smaller as you go down. And it's the same principle as you got right here. Just you go from big to little. You go from big to little. And it'll look, it might look something like this. I should have darkened that sky up a little bit more so you could get a better idea of what I'm talking about. But anyway, you get the idea. So up in here we got big clouds. Down here we've got little clouds and a lot closer together. Then, down here, what are we going to have? let's have a, I'll tell you what, let's have a lake. You want a lake? Let's put a lake in here. So on this lake, got the same principle as we had up here. You go from big to little. And lakes are usually erratic on the shoreline, but it's still the same principle. You go from big to little. Or this could be a river. All right, then on the landscape part, out in here, what do we have? We got grasses, and up here close, you got tall grass. And as we graduate down, the grasses get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and the closer up front, actually the darker that these grasses will get. And then back in here you'll have some dark areas, but they won't be near as pronounced as these are up close up front. So we'll come in here, and this is just, I mean, you can really refine this, but I'm just throwing in some stuff for illustration purpose only. And then a shoreline. And some reflections in the water, and like I say, guys, this is just to illustrate. As I said, this isn't going to be a painting you can hang on the wall. Okay, but you can see how we're getting this depth in this image. Now then, here's something that's very important, and okay, these are pretty much dry. So I can go ahead, I'm gonna take a soft scrubber. If I can find it, here it is. I'm gonna take this soft scrubber brush, and I'm going to add some blue on a very dry brush, just very little paint on here. And I'm gonna come in here, and I'm going to take some of this blue, and I'm going to put some atmosphere back in this area. Maybe just a tad of white. And that's going to set these back further in the image, which adds more depth. Which adds more depth into your painting. And the more you glaze over that and mute that, the further back they're going to look. The further back they're going to look in your image, in your painting. And see how that pushes all of that back. And the shoreline. Same principle. You go from big to little. All right, let's do something else here. Let's put a, let me get a liner brush. Let me clean this scrubber up and get a liner brush. All right, let's say we have let's say there's a fence. Let's put a fence right here. So we'll start small and close together, these fence posts. And as you come forward, and keep in mind, we're going to have this same, let me go ahead and draw a line across here. This is going to be your fence. It all points to that one place we started with. And then the closer you get, the closer you get to the bottom of your image, the further apart these fence posts become, and the bigger they get, the more mass they have. So closer, bigger. In the same way with your railings, whether it's wire or logs, you want to keep that same vanishing point. All of it points toward that same area. And that's pretty much my illustration for today. And here's something else that is very, very important in getting depth in your painting, perspective, and that is shadows. All right, on these trees, you want to come in wherever your sunlight is, and let's say our sunlight is actually right here, and I'm going to put a real bright area right here. That's going to be, right here is going to be your sunshine. So from this light, all of these are going to shadow off of that same plane. And this is very important. Shadows are very, very important to getting a proper perspective for your composition. And even in your grasses and stuff, there'll be shadows down underneath. And even on these fence posts, you're going to have these shadows. And in a real painting, you can take your time and make it like you would too. Now let's say this is let's do this. Let's say this is a cityscape. Let me change brushes and let me get an angle. Get an angle brush. Let's say this is a cityscape, and this is a street. Okay, same principle. You'll come in here, and your buildings at the end of this street are going to be small. And as you come forward, they're going to get bigger and bigger. And then some of them are going to be shorter than others, of course. And then some of them are going to be a lot taller than others, of course. But the thing is getting that, all of it in that same angle, in that same perspective. And as you come forward, they will get bigger and bigger. Some of them's going to be short, some of them's going to be tall, but you're still going to have that same perspective. But you get the idea. And all of you seasoned painters already know this stuff, but if somebody is just starting out, then perhaps this will help you. Now then, something else is very important when you're doing this is getting your highlight correct. So the light's going to be coming from this side, so on this side of the building, you're going to have these sunlit reflections. Something like that. And then you're going to have, even when you put your windows and whatever you have in there, you want to follow that same concept. On the front of these buildings, you're going to have your windows. See what I did right there? And let's say this is a corner of the building, and then over here on this side, all of these windows are going to be on a level plane because they're not on this plane, they're on this plane. So in this, on this corner of this building, all your windows and doors are going to be this plane. On this plane, they're all going to be slanted towards that vanishing point, and that's what's going to give that building that depth, and even up on the top, the top of this building. This one right here is going to be on this plane, where the top of this building is going to be on that same plane is right there. So all of these buildings, the top of them are going to be graduated, something like so. Unless you're looking at the face side of it, which most of them you're not. This one, you're going to be looking at it like that, and see how that gives depth in there. So there you go. You got everything going, and down at the bottom, very important. Down at the bottom, you got the same thing. You got this one, and this one, this building, These buildings, they all are on that plane, which is just the opposite as from the top. So there you go. And whether this is a street, a river, or a path, sidewalk, it doesn't matter. Or an open field, doesn't matter, with a fence. It's all about that one principle of that point right there, where everything comes together, and that's how you get depth in your painting. So that's how I'm going to wrap this up. And while I got this here, let's just put a sidewalk. Let's just put a sidewalk right in there. And then in the sidewalk, it's real important to get the bottom of these that are facing you on that plane. So if this is the side of that building, let's say it is right here, that's the side of this building. So we will fix the top of it to be like that. Then you have to bring your walkways back up in on that plane, on this plane, because that is the flat side. That's the side you're looking at. So it's some very simple concepts. And then if you wanted to make this a road, if this is a road with cars or whatever it might be, same principle, from big to little. And you want to keep your brush strokes. You want to keep your brush strokes going in that the same direction. Just like this. And then if you've got stripes down the middle of that road, you got little, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger as you come forward. And the curb is the same way. You got, of course, this, I'm just doing your curb gets bigger, bigger and bigger, to smaller and smaller. So there's, see how we've created that depth in this? Just some simple just some simple laws for perspective. And it is so much fun. I've got my curve a little bit big back in there, but if a guy takes his time and does it right, you get the idea. Anyway, that's my quick little study for today. And I hope some of you who's watching learned something. And if you have and you like it, comment to Gary Mack Studio and get on my list for giveaways, because about every 6 weeks or so I've been doing some painting giveaways. I'll paint a picture and give it to people who are most interested in my work, and they comment to me. So please subscribe to Gary Mac Studio, and I'll do some of these tutorials once in a while like this to show the way I get perspective. It may not be the way someone else does it, I don't know. But this is the way I do it, and it's pretty much a rule of thumb. So, all right, love you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. Love you. Bye-bye.